How does anyone make anything? Why do they make things, and why was this picture Gary Busey's family photoshopped into existence? That's the question John Green, author and YouTuber, asked. It wasn't made for fame or profit, although it should be because it's a masterpiece and should be hung on every museum wall ever. No, it's more basic than that. It was just made to make someone smile. Like a stranger too, not even somebody that you know. It was just made to exist. I came across that John Green quote in a Zen Pencils comic, which I highly recommend, by the way, link in the doobly-doo. Something I say now, apparently. And here's the video that the quote in the comic was based off of. And that, for some reason, that resonated with me. I feel like 99% of the time, I'm not making things for anyone. I'm just doing it to put up on my Instagram or just to get better at making stuff. So it's kind of more self-centered than even this is. This is pretty self-centered, let's be real. Most of the time, I don't make anything for anyone. I just make paint or draw for my Instagram or for a YouTube video or just for practice. There's nothing wrong with making stuff for your Instagram or just to practice or even for YouTube. It's just that when you're making something for somebody, you're putting in a different kind of energy into it. You're kind of, there are consequences, there are real consequences. Maybe they'll like it, maybe they won't, who knows? So I wanted to try and make a gift for my girlfriend. So to get away from selfishly making things, I wanted to make something for my girlfriend, which I did so that I would get away from my selfish thing, which in its own way is selfish. There's no winning here. I don't know what I'm doing. But more than that, I wanted her to get a thing, and for the energy I put into the thing to go to her. Gifts are just psychic devices with varying potency, right? I decided to make her a children's book. To clarify, she's neither a child nor a book, so this mission was kind of bound to fail from the start. And for full transparency's sake, I'd already made her this book, but I had only sent it to her as a PDF. I hadn't given her a physical copy because there was a pandemic going on and we couldn't really meet for a while. But I didn't even like the art. I think the art was pretty bad. But that's okay. We're here to learn, we're here to grow, we're here to make YouTube videos out of random projects that we undertake. So I'm relatively new to digital painting, which is what I decided to use to make this children's book. And I could feel what I was illustrating get better as the book went along. So the beginning few pages were worse than the last few pages that I illustrated, which was a problem. But that's okay. That's okay. And I also learned that I can't make any money online drawing furry art because I can't draw fur or bears with fur. Here's the book, by the way. I think it's stale and I don't think you're very good at making sushi, said the businessman. The sushi chef felt quite bad about this. She had worked so hard to get the restaurant open, but nobody ever liked her sushi rolls. She had tried everything. Her knives were sharp, her rice was cooked perfectly, her veggies were fresh, and she only used the best seaweed for her sushi rolls. The sushi chef figured it out. The salmon she was using was old. It had been kept on ice for a few days before it even reached the restaurant. She went into the woods alone to go find a river she could fish in. After spending some time trekking through the thick forest, she could hear a small creek in the distance. It had been 4 hours since she had begun fishing, but she hadn't even caught a single fish. She hadn't even come close to catching a single fish. She was annoyed at first, angry even. But by the 4th hour, she was just sad. She heard some splashing coming further down the river. It was a bear. It looked like he was fishing too. He was swatting the water with his big paws, and every time he dipped his claws into the water, they'd come out with a giant fish. He had started collecting a pretty big pile of fish down the stream, and he didn't seem to mind that there was a young lady trying to do the same a few feet away from him. He probably didn't even see her. The chef started creeping towards the bear's pile of fish, and the bear saw her, but he didn't seem to mind. She picked out a fish and laid out all her equipment on the ground. She packed the rice onto the seaweed and added some avocado and cucumber to her flat bamboo mat. Her knives carefully cut the salmon into a long strip and she placed it delicately on the roll. The sushi chef was proud of her meal and decided to try a piece. A shadow was cast over her as she bit into the sushi and she looked up to see a giant bear right in front of her. She slowly backed away from the food in front of her. The bear sniffed the sushi in front of him for a second. He gulped down one piece, and then another, and then another. The bear looked up at the chef and brought out another fish. Turns out bears were far less critical of her food than businessmen were, although she didn't need this experience to know that. She spent all afternoon making more and more sushi for her new forest friend. He'd catch the fish and she'd feed him in return, although she snuck in a few morsels for herself. Soon the chef was out of avocados. She barely had any rice left. She couldn't stay out in the forest making sushi for a bear forever anyways. She had to head back, although a giant predator following her expecting Japanese finger food wasn't really a good look to walk into town with. About halfway through the trek, the bear noticed the chef seemed tired and shuffled her onto his back. Dusk was just settling in as a young lady with a bag full of fish rode through the cobblestone footpaths of her tiny town on a 300-kilo bear. Parts of that sentence were pieced together by the locals that saw the spectacle for themselves. Most of them went back inside before the bear could register them as food. Not only is that untrue for bears, but it also happened to be untrue for most dinosaurs. The chef led the bear into her store and spent all night making her new friend the best smoked salmon roll he had ever had. Although admittedly, this bear had not tried very many. Once they were both exhausted and the steam from the rice had made both the air and their eyes heavy, the chef rested her head on the bear's belly as they both drifted off, dreaming dreams of sushi. She woke up to pebbles tapping on her store window. It was the businessman again. He seemed to be the unfortunate representative of pretty much everyone in town as the other residents cowered behind him from what they thought was a safe distance. "You know you can't keep a pet bear, right?" "Oh no, that's just my dog, Nori." It was a tenacious lie, but one that didn't stand much of a chance in front of a determined audience. The chef had an idea and ran back inside. She picked out the perfect salmon from the day before's haul and crafted the bear special and ran back outside. Before the businessman could protest her hyperactive activity, she shoved a piece of sushi into his mouth. The man stopped for a second, probably several. It's hard to say, I wasn't there myself. He felt the avocado like a creamy paste on grains of rice that had only held on to each other for the illusion of support and parted ways once a slighted pressure was applied. The salmon itself was a fuse that lit seconds before impact as it burst into its own, not overpowering the other ingredients but not being a shy boy itself. The businessman wept, for he knew that he'd never be able to try this sushi for the first time again. The street was soon lined with a stretch of townsfolk waiting for their daily bear sushi, and the young chef and her fuzzy buddy were loved and accepted by all. The end. My girlfriend, let's call her Vaishnavi because that's her name, reacted like this when I gave her the book. Yeah, I recorded a reaction because that's what I do now. Real YouTuber, 200 subscribers. I made this for you. I didn't like the artwork in the last one.
Oh my god.
So
I was just wondering who gave you that.
So I redid all the artwork.
Oh my god. This is so cute. Why are you making a YouTube?
Honestly, this felt a lot more fulfilling than making 1,000 Instagram posts because there's like a real consequence to it. If you don't make something that's liked, that's a horrible feeling. You're gifting it to someone that you want them to like it. And I'm always afraid of somebody not liking what I gifted them. And if you're not, you're a fool and a rapscallion, and I don't associate with you or those punk friends of yours. Leave a comment in the comment section because that's where comments go about the last gift you made. Or you could DM me at raghav.mp4 on Instagram. Or you could just call me and we could have a conversation if you know me, I guess. Or if you know me, you could just call me and tell me what the last gift you made was. No context. If you know me, give me a call and just say, hey, the last thing I made was a necklace made out of dead teeth. What? That That's the first gift that came to my mind. Why would dead teeth? What's a dead? I guess it's like a yikes.